Hello and welcome everyone back to the Creator Podcast. My name is Jordan, and today we are going to be discussing why it has been 2 years since I have created a podcast. No, I'm just joking, guys. Actually, we are going to be discussing the state of the current situation of the world and the global economy right now. It is looking, because things are looking absolutely unbelievable, and it is looking pretty crazy, the situation that is going on right now, actually. And this is because of a number of reasons. But the last time I recorded a podcast, it was during the middle of lockdown, coronavirus, the pandemic. And I shouldn't have said that word now. Now this video is going to get taken down by YouTube. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that we were already having, global economic catastrophe. Well, fast forward 2 years on, and the pandemic itself has ended, it seems, in most places. But we now have a bigger problem on our hands. There was the invasion of Ukraine, the Russian war on Ukraine, and Putin deciding to go mad, basically, and take his citizens, innocent young men, into war. So yeah, just another day on planet Earth. Really, people's heads are getting blown off, and children's schools and hospitals are getting blown to smithereens, as they would say in the World War II days. But basically, besides the point of that, guys, there is a far worse problem on our hands, and that is the fact that this is causing kind of like a global economic meltdown, basically, due to prices, commodity prices, gas prices and oil prices initially, but this has now trickled down into the global economy, affecting everything here in the West, all the way down to food prices, energy bills, housing prices, literally everything that we buy. And all the prices of our economies are affected, and everything is currently affected. Now, when is this war going to end? Well, some people are saying in 20 years or in 30 years, and some people are saying the war will never end. But the point is that this is a new reality for the West that we are facing, and that is the cut off of the supply of gas and oil from Russia. But that was really just the sort of topping on the cake of economic crisis, the cake of economic catastrophe, if you will. The cake was already been made. It had already been made by years of economic and monetary policy from the government, fiscal policy, monetary policy from the central banks, and fiscal policy around the world, and especially in the United States and here in the UK where we live. And that is the addiction to the endless printing of money by the central banks, which has caused inflation. So now we are experiencing skyrocketing inflation, guys, and that is also that is the root cause, to be honest, of all of the price rises that you may see, which are basically everywhere right now. And if you do hear loud vehicles in the background of this podcast, it is just because I live in central London, guys, and I am recording this podcast in the evening before I go to sleep, and there is quite a lot of loud noise outside of my home here in central London, in the middle of the city, in the middle of a central London, central city, as always. But so yeah, this is the kind of a situation that we face now. What is going to happen? Well, people can't afford. People are struggling. There is a cost of living crisis in the UK. And so, unfortunately, this is actually the beginnings of a new reality. Let's say, best case scenario, the war was called off tomorrow, right? If Putin called off this war with the Ukraine, we would still have this inflation problem, because inflation was not caused by the war, but it was exacerbated by it. So the war is just one of many long list of problems. The pandemic was a problem. And before the pandemic, we had the crisis. We always have a new crisis, and the current crisis that it is being blamed on the war, and now we really do have an inflation crisis. So this is very fascinating to me. I've been spending the past few years really getting to grips with the economy and understanding and learning about the whole financial system. And the financial system is frankly screwed, guys. China are facing a massive economic meltdown over there at the moment, because they are having kind of like a 2008 style Lehman Brothers American style financial crisis, a housing crisis, and it is caused by their housing market. You see, 70% of the country of China's actual financial assets are backed up by their property market, and it's absolutely crazy. It was pretty much, some people are calling it the largest Ponzi scheme of all time, because the entire housing market was built on, well, it wasn't built on bricks, basically. It was built on, like a tower of cards, and the bottom card has been moved, and the tower is about to collapse. There is no way of keeping the tower up. So that is a long story. I will be creating other more YouTube videos going into the depths of what's happening in the economy right now all around the world. Turkey are suffering from nearly pretty much the start of hyperinflation. The United States are said to be potentially facing a inflationary depression. So not a recession, not an inflationary recession, but an inflationary depression, which is basically stagflation. It is the worst of all worlds. It just means that they cannot stop this recession from happening, and then staying for a long time, many years, in order to get through the recession without printing more money and basically bailing the entire thing out, basically, which is the very cause of why we have inflation in the first place. If they do that, that will cause hyperinflation, and if they don't do that, so that's stimulating the economy, right? Stimulating the economy. If they don't print more money and stimulate the economy, then America's recession, and therefore the recession of the rest of the world, is only just beginning. But by the way, guys, there are many positive solutions for this state of the world right now, and there are lots of actual solutions and things you can do, and really interesting and groundbreaking discoveries I have found about the flip side of recessions, the flip side of even depressions, and the flip side of the bad times, right? And that is that with bad times comes great opportunity. It's a bit like that line in Spider-Man. Ben says to Peter Parker, with great responsibility, no, with great power comes great responsibility, my son. And so, basically it was, well, even though he's not his son, he's his uncle, so it was his nephew, really. But the point of the situation stands, and that is that if it's all about your attitude towards things, right? If you can choose to come out of things positively, or face things with a positive light, with a positive attitude or situation or whatever, then you will be able to actually find the opportunities in all crisis and all bad situations that come up in life. And in this case, there is a huge investment opportunity, of course, because the stock markets, the commodity markets, as we started this podcast with, the fact that commodity prices are going through the roof, we know oil, gas, and so forth. Yeah, they're causing all of the other financial markets kind of to crash, really, because people now need money for things. They need money for food, money to keep feeding their families. People are losing their jobs, and so people are selling off all of their financial assets. This is very typical and happens all the time. This usually happens, at the start in every recession that we do have. But in the depths of every recession or every crisis, at the bottom comes the bottom, right? What we call the bottom of the markets, and that is when the markets, hit the very bottom. Now, no one can time it. Nobody knows when these things are, but ideally, the point of this situation is that you can slowly, during the entire recession, start to invest in long-term financial assets that you believe in. Ideally, you would need to own a house, own your very own property, a home. This is a long-term, lifetime type of investment, right? You would like to own things like potentially some solid assets like gold in order to preserve your wealth, and you would also be able to have the biggest opportunity of a lifetime in order to invest not just in the stock market, but if you believe in it, into the cryptocurrency market too for the long-term future. Now, what I mean by that is mainly Bitcoin. Everything else is just the biggest and wildest speculation at this point. However, Bitcoin is, some people say, is an absolute, investment opportunity of a lifetime. Now, it all depends on whatever you want to look at in the long-term future. There are also other things, fintech investment vehicles, ETFs, and so forth, and all of these things. All of these things are different kinds of investments to consider. There are also many other investments, investing in startups and small companies and all of these things and so forth. But the ultimate and most long-lasting investment, in my opinion, that you can do is invest into yourself, so into your own education. And that is exactly what I'm doing at the moment, because currently I'm keeping money on the sidelines in order to invest in these opportunities when we get to that golden moment, when the opportunity presents itself in the depths of the recession, when everyone is panicking and everyone's selling off stocks and crypto and commodities and things are at their all-time low. That is when people like me will swoop in and buy their first house, potentially their first very few properties. And so that's how it goes. Now, the other thing that is underlying everything here is there is actually many things. Where to start? I mean, there is this situation that is happening. You need to look at it positively and treat everything as an opportunity. And that, one of the biggest things where I say investing in yourself, is what I am doing now. And the core opportunity of that is to start your own business, right? So start your own business. And since I did my last podcast, I am pleased to announce that I have actually started the most successful business of my entire life. And it is going extremely well. I'm fully pretty much dedicating my time to growing my business now into epic proportions. And that is in fact a finance YouTube channel, and that has grown into multiple channels all across social media, and a information hub of currently cryptocurrency resources and all other kinds of information and channels that I'm starting up soon. And that is the channel Hot Cuppa Crypto, which is my second channel. The first channel that I had was Hot Cuppa TV, and now this is my second channel. And this channel, Hot Cuppa TV, has 3,500 subscribers. And this second business that I have started, which has become this second channel, which has become a business, all about cryptocurrency, DeFi, which is decentralized finance, and teaching people the basics of the crypto market, has actually grown from 0 all the way up to 3,500 subscribers entirely organically, with no help or advertising. It is insane. Over 100,000 views, and actually I think nearly 200,000 views on the channel already. It has been just over 6 months, and I couldn't be happier since I started that channel at the end of 2001. At the start of 2000, actually it was about February 2022 is when that channel started. So yeah, that is amazing. That is absolutely insane. I have brands and all kinds of people that you couldn't imagine in the finance and crypto world reaching out to me every single day and offering me new opportunities. And what I have done is taken my passion for creating, video creation and YouTube that I have YouTube videos that I have learned throughout my life, and indeed all of my photography skills, which was my previous business, my very first business in London doing photography. And I have put them all to the test, if you will. I have optimized those skills by investing in myself during the pandemic, when everybody was simply, they were pretty much watching Netflix and chilling and panicking, basically. I was out there grinding and learning Photoshop, learning Premiere Pro, learning video editing, learning TikTok, and learning all these platforms. And it is insane. The opportunity right now lies in short form video, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And that is why soon you're going to be seeing lots of YouTube Shorts on this here on my YouTube, and all on my other YouTubes getting pumped out from me. Now, this is my personal channel, Jordan Monahan TV, which is actually my this is just my test channel, really. I didn't put too much effort into producing this channel. I just wanted to pump out content when I feel like talking, just like this, what I'm doing now, just like when I feel like recording like this, without turning the camera on sometimes. And that's why I created this podcast, in order to just speak about what is going through my mind right now in the evenings after I've been working on my main businesses and my main channels, and then just put it out onto this channel and see what happens and see if anybody is interested in listening to this. But really for my own practice of talking and getting more used to doing regular videos and regular podcasts on here. I am soon going to, one of my biggest plans for my new channel is to start a podcast with guests soon. So that is something that is coming on over the horizon, guys. And I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to have different types of guests on that crypto finance channel that I deem to be suitable from the all around the financial industry, other small finance and other small crypto YouTube channels that I have found and that I have learned from, and some other people that are really interesting and upcoming as well. And also, there is a lot of social media experts, people who are starting channels on social media and becoming very, very successful with that. So that's going to be, branding, my branding channel or my branding podcast. I'm not sure if I'm going to separate that out into a separate podcast and maybe put it onto like a channel like here and start to focus more on this channel and grow this channel, which is my personal channel, Jordan Monahan TV. Or, just put it onto that channel and put it all into one podcast. So I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that here. Now, so the last time I did this podcast, I changed the name of my channel it was Jordan Creates TV, I believe. At that point, well, I have changed the name again. And that is Jordan Monahan TV now. I thought it is more simple and more straight to the point. It is just my name followed by TV, which is a pretty simple thing to name this channel, because I do have plans for this to grow my personal brand in the future. My personal brand channel will be this channel, Jordan Monahan TV. And so I could be filling this channel going forwards from this point on with, of course, potentially more creator podcasts whenever I'm feeling about getting these ideas, sharing these ideas out into these podcasts, and also into more content coming up soon. So, potentially checking out, why not, some shorts onto this channel. So checking out some shorts, things like that, just for testing things out. It will just be really random content for now until I'm testing. But the rough general themes for this channel I have to bring to this channel are economics, potentially social, all my learnings from social media. So how to grow or start a business, social media business on this channel by using video, right? You need to, these days, if you want to start a business, the just number one fastest and top easiest and way for free is, and with least obviously you need to do some effort, but with least amount of effort, is to start creating short form video social media channels, right? TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. And YouTube and Instagram have obviously copied the success of TikTok and started to put Shorts and Instagram Reels at the top of their priority list, and that is why those features are getting the most attention, and that is why you can grow very fast by utilizing those features and creating small videos for your business or brand, whatever it may be. And if you have a business or brand and you are listening to this, you can reach out to me, and I will be available soon for one-on-one coaching. I'm going to be putting I'm going to be doing some coaching and some tips, moving forwards here on this channel, of all the things that has actually helped me to grow and become successful and to become full-time into, I can't believe I'm saying this, but become a full-time YouTuber, or I guess social media content creator is what I am now. I am an all-round content creator because I create content from all platforms. And people pay me for doing it, which is absolutely insane. I wish I had documented the process more over the past 2 years on here, and that is why I am back here with the Creator Podcast, in order to document that and sometimes talk about the current state of the world, the economy, and some more ramblings on here about economics. But you see, they are related, because to build your own business is to seize, right, the very opportunity that is in front of your eyes, in front of us now at this very moment, guys, is because of the fact that if we go into when we go into a recession or a economic downturn, a depression, lots of people lose their jobs. Well, what is an alternative solution? It really is an opportunity to start your very own business here, just like the economic catastrophe and crisis that we had during the pandemic, where everyone lost their jobs and we went into isolation, lockdowns, and all of these absolutely crazy crazy type situations, it was really an opportunity, an absolute gift in disguise. So remember that, guys. And I am living proof here on this channel that these things are opportunities. So grab yourselves a tasty beverage, sit back and relax. And I guess I'm just going to summarize a few more thoughts here on this channel. But yeah, grab your hot and tasty beverage, guys, and or grab yourself a snack, whatever it may be, and sit back and chill out and listen to this here in the evenings or in the mornings when you're having your coffee, or potentially when you're going to the gym, and listen to this for motivation. If any of you should find this podcast, I could even promote this in order to get the traction of this channel running, but I'm not going to do that for now. I'm just going to see how things go. But I may create some shorts and then direct people onto my longer form videos here on this channel. Who knows? But I can start to pay a little bit of attention to this channel. And that is that on this channel, like I say, I have a lot that I've learned and I have a lot to share with you. That is the beginning of the iceberg, what we have gone over in terms of economics, in terms of growing your own business, and in terms of social media and the opportunity here. But there is so many other things that we still have not covered, guys. There is currently a currency crisis, if you will, happening around the world. Now, this is the results after all of these economic situations we have explained on the dollar at the moment. Now, the reason all assets are predominantly crashing, and one of the currency reasons, is the fact that the US dollar is actually skyrocketing it is skyrocketing right now against all other assets, and that is due to panic, right? When people panic, the last thing they buy, the only thing they sell, they sell everything first, right? And then before they actually, the billionaires and the richest people in the world, and all of the money managers and hedge funds and the people who are managing all the money in Wall Street, of course, they first sell off all the stocks, all the assets, but then they wait for the next buying opportunity, right? They are waiting for the next investment. But in the meantime, while there's high inflation, they need to put their money into what they believe is the safest thing possible. Now, in theory, cash is not safe because it is suffering from 9% inflation, 10% inflation per year at the moment in the US. I won't go into other countries. In the UK, it's a bit worse here right now, but I won't go into the real statistics right now. But roughly speaking, that's what they report. They report that it is 9 to 10% in inflation in the US, which is just a straight out lie. But anyway, let's say it was. Well, then holding currency, you should be, in theory, losing 10% per year, right? 9 or 10% of your purchasing power. So let's say you have a million. Let's say you have 1,000, just to keep it simple, $1,000, and you keep it in your account. Well, in exactly 1 year, you can now buy only $900 worth of stuff. So you still have the $1,000, but it has lost its purchasing power, right? It has lost 10% of its purchasing power. Now, that is a dream scenario because that's not what's happening. It is, in fact, in reality, losing far more value than that. But that's another story. So let's just say they're doing that. But the problem is, what do people do when there's high inflation and stock markets are down? Well, people invest in gold, or they invest in alternative assets, such as some people say Bitcoin is a little bit like gold. It is more like a digital version of gold, or the future of gold, digital gold. But that's a very complicated topic or debate that I will have to do a separate whole podcast about. But who knows? But the point is gold definitely does serve that purpose. Gold originally was, and that originally was money, right? So the point is, gold keeps its value and holds its value over time. So in theory, gold should be safe right now. But gold has been, just like with all other assets, it has been dumping and been going down as well against the US dollar. In fact, over the past few months, since around February, when Russia's invasion on Ukraine happened this year, March, February, right? So since then, this has been happening. The dollar's been going up, and all other assets has been going down. And gold has been going down, and so all other currencies has actually been going down against the dollar, which is very insane. This is a very, very crazy situation, and I'll explain why. But that is why, money managers and the biggest people right now, they have all their money in dollars. So people are seeing dollar as the lowest risk financial asset at the moment, and therefore raising the value of the dollar. Everyone is putting their assets into dollars, including foreign countries, right? especially third world countries, because their currencies are collapsing at an absolute crazy, rapid and much faster pace than all other countries, such as, like here in the UK. But we are currently facing a sterling GBP pound crisis, and the euro is facing its own crisis, the euro currency as well. But the Turkish lira, for example, is absolutely skyrocketing out of control. All the people in Turkey are just turning to dollars, right? Because they are, and that is a process which is called dollarization. This is where other countries start to use more, especially this has been happening with third world countries and in Argentina, for example, and Colombia and countries like that who have already had their currencies collapse for a long time. They have been dollarizing, and because the dollar, you see, is unlike all other currencies, currently holds the position as the global reserve currency, right? That is because every country does need every currency needs dollars in order to buy. And why is there an extremely loud motorbike? Guys, I'm sorry about the extremely noisy motorbike that you can hear in the distance, in the background of this podcast. I am sure it is because I live in London and it is currently late at night, extremely silent. But then it is in the dead of night. You see, my window is open, but then you can hear random vehicles in the distance, extremely loudly echoing across the city. But that is another matter. By the way, let me know which city are you listening to when you are listening to this podcast. Leave it in the comment section below, guys, and leave if you are enjoying these podcasts as well and hearing the random vehicles and car alarms in the background of this podcast. That's the advantage of living in this crazy city here, London, which I have chosen, and it is one of the most amazing cities in the world. It is beautiful, and I love it. It was one of the best decisions of my life moving here to this city. I have currently been here now for nearly 5 years, and I absolutely love it. I enjoy being here because it makes someone focus a lot and become successful, especially if you're not working at a job there. It is actually a very good place for entrepreneurs to try to grow their very own business and to pursue their amazing business ideas for themselves. And I strongly recommend, if anyone wants to build a business, and this is a great place to do so, or many other cities around the world. However, unfortunately, the UK is facing some severely difficult problems. And that is, again, going back to this dollar crisis, something that needs to be addressed. You see, the dollar, even today, this week, it's had a few corrections on the way. But if you look at the DXY, the Dixie, which is the dollar price chart, to all our currencies, it has been out of control, guys. It is just like a bull that was let out of its cage and is seeing red everywhere. It is charging all around, completely out of control, and people just can't tame it. That is what's happening. So the dollar is rising, and what is happening is the euro and the UK, so all across Europe and especially in the UK right now, we are facing energy prices that are rising. Inflation is rising higher than ever before. But what no one is talking about is this is also due hugely to the dollar rising in value against our currencies, which are inevitably, basically, always falling. They will always be falling against the dollar for other reasons, but basically, essentially, it is this fiat monetary system, which ever since we came off the gold standard in 1971 has been a global monetary experiment with all of these currencies that are backed by nothing and backed by the confidences of their governments in their respective countries. As you can see, a lot of these fiat currencies have already failed in weaker countries all across the world that have now turned to the dollar as their last resort. And that is really the only reason that is holding the dollar up right now. One of the only reasons that the dollar still has value against all these other currencies is it is indeed needed. It is in fact still a current crucial element that every country is needed right now. It is needed from everyone right now across the world. There is demand for it because it is the global reserve currency. People need it to buy food, and guess what? People need it to buy energy, and people need it to buy everything, all other things as well. But literally today, the pound fell 1%, 1%. That's a lot against the dollar. This has been happening for many months. The pound has been going down 0.2%, 0.1%, 0.3%, sometimes even 1% in a day ever since the invasion of Russia began. Now, the invasion of Ukraine, And by the way, this was already happening, but much, much slower and much by less amounts with every currency against the dollar in terms of a long term. If you zoom out of the charts 10, 20 years, you can already see this. That the dollar has always been rising against all other currencies. However, this has accelerated it, and now the currencies, including the Western so-called reliable currencies from the so-called richer countries, are now speeding up their demise, if you will. The currencies collapse in value, and the pound is going down like never before. And guess what? That is not making energy that we're importing any cheaper. It is making it more expensive. It is like literally a double whammy. You have inflation going up. In the UK, it's into double digits now. We have hit 10.1% inflation this month, August 2022, when I'm currently filming this podcast right now. And the horrific predictions of the new inflation coming out is actually that it is going to hit 18% now. It is come out on the latest government predictions. It is awful. And yeah, I'll delve deeper into what's actually happening, the truth of the UK, but it is in reality already far beyond 18% in this country. They are just not reporting it due to the change of the way that they measure the CPI in the late 1970s that America has also implemented, which is a completely barbaric system that they call hedonics, and that is where they change the basket of supplies that they measure inflation against in any respective country, right? So that is the basket of food and other essential goods. They call them essential goods, that they are measuring price rises, changes of price each month by month, how the price changes in there in order to come out with and year over year, in order to come out with the monthly changes and yearly changes to the rate of inflation. So that is where we get the inflation rate, and that is called the CPI, right? The Consumer Price Index, the CPI rate of inflation of each country. And so they have, for example, they call this hedonics basically, and it's the system where they get the basket of goods, the basket of, what do they call it? The basket of essentials or something. And they, for example, if the price of beef starts to go up, they swap beef and put chicken in there because chicken didn't go up as much. And they say, oh, this is if everybody bought chicken now, then inflation would be lower. So and then they report inflation as if it is that, when in reality no one has stopped buying beef at all. People still buy the same bacon, the same salmon, the same fish, or the same meat, or the same cheeses, or whatever, same milk, or whatever products they buy. They haven't stopped buying that, but the government predicts that everyone will stop buying and start automatically buying the cheapest possible version of that meat that exists, or that food, and they do this with all the other things. They do it with the vegetables, and they do it with the bread and the dairy and the food items and the alcohols even. It is absolutely crazy, honestly. And they do this with the entire basket of commodities, the basket of goods, I think they call it, that they measure the CPI with. And so that never happened before they did this change in the 1970s. So they never had hedonics, and also they do this in order to measure the house prices as well. And they've changed that to something that's called owner's equivalent rent. And I'll go into this more in the future podcast about the CPI. Some people call it the CP lie, because the government is just simply lying about the way it is measuring inflation right now. So, but with all of this happening, I have rambled on enough about inflation in the economy in this episode. I have told you how you can turn it into a positive and use this to start your very own opportunity or business, or if you just study the financial system, you can find many different ways, all different kinds of ways to, for sure, find positives out of this. But you do need to understand what's happening. Remember, guys, I am the most optimistic person on YouTube. I actually always look at only the bright side of life, and I try to tell you the good things that are going on. And the most positive situation right now is to admit the truth, which is that we are going into the worst recession that has ever. It's going to be awful. It's going to be potentially a financial crisis and all kinds of things coming up here in the UK, in my country. And we in the UK is simply copying and reflecting what is happening in America, and that is reflecting what's happening all across the world, especially in the West here. after the effects of the Russian invasion and the Russian war. But countries like Europe, the UK, America are all in it together. Our own Western economic collapse, if you will, and then China, Japan, North Korea, like Korea itself, the whole country. You have Thailand, Singapore, those Western countries, and India. They have their own Eastern economic problems as well, but they are different. You see, there is a new global financial currency which they are trying to build, which is the BRICS agreement, BRICS. They have actually already implemented this brand new global reserve currency backed by 5 main countries, and other Eastern countries are allowed to. 5 main Eastern countries, and other Eastern countries are allowed to apply for it. This was initiated by China and Russia, and it involves China, Russia, the 5 countries of China, Russia, India, Brazil, and what was the other one? South Africa, right? So these are the 5 founding countries of this new currency, and the currency is backed up by their 5 currencies, including gold, and some basket of the various respective commodities that each of those countries export and specialize in, right? So, for example, a lot of those countries have a lot of commodities in order to back up this new currency, giving this currency slightly more value than the US dollar, which is backed up by only nothing. It's backed up by paper, right? It is not backed because it is not backed by gold anymore. So that is why the Russian ruble, for example, which is Russia's currency, has been pegged back to gold, guys. Not fully. They haven't gone back onto the gold standard, but Putin has tried to take Russia's currency back onto a semi-gold standard, if you will. But this is all due to the commodity war, the war on power of the world, the power of the 2 great economies, the Eastern economy and the Western economy, if you will. The 3 global forces, the Russia and the China, and the US, and NATO and all of its allies. So they are all having this struggle for the world global currency, because whoever controls the currency dominates the world, right? At the end of the day, and I think that the silver lining to all of this is that there has never been before a competitor to all of these powers, these global powers in the world, but this time we do have one, and that is not actually gold this time, my friends. That is Bitcoin, and thank God why we have Bitcoin, because Bitcoin itself is just like it's like a gift from heaven. It could be the ticket to freedom, guys, or it could be in fact the greatest Ponzi scheme that has ever existed. I will let you guys decide that and leave you with that. But if you want to find out more about crypto, you can go to my crypto channel. I am soon going to be doing more informational videos. I've been reviewing decentralized finance projects, opportunities, but I will be looking at educating some beginners on the basics of cryptocurrency and all of the opportunities that the crypto market has for entrepreneurs and for people in the future going forwards in their businesses. But let's leave it at that for now. China is currently facing their own problems. They have their property market, which is apparently going to crumble within the next 30 days. Although China has just issued a new $40 billion yuan bailout. Yuan is China's currency, actually, and it is actually $40 billion worth of yuan. New bailout for all of their housing companies. Their property developers across the country who have all gone bankrupt and cannot afford to pay back their debts. So they have closed down a lot of the Chinese people's banks, and so there is a huge bank run going on in China. It is not being reported, it is not on the news, but it is huge. And just like in the 2008 banking collapse, but this time people cannot actually get their funds. Ordinary Chinese citizens and investors who have invested into the Chinese property real estate market have now lost access to all their savings and their funds, because the property market companies cannot pay their debts back, which means they have defaulted on their housing market bonds. They're basically like bonds, but they're housing market bonds. They have the entire Chinese economy has defaulted on all of its debts, basically. All of its debts. So the Chinese government has printed new money in the form of a bailout and given it to all of the property developers, meanwhile freezing the bank accounts of all of the Chinese citizens who cannot get their bank money out of their bank right now. It's not actually all of them. It is approximately 60 to 70 million customers, Chinese customers, from all of the popular, biggest and largest Chinese banks. the Chinese banks are basically currently failing, and yeah, there is a banking crisis happening there. So we will see what happens, and I will be trying to report that to all of my news channels as we find out more information about that. So do go ahead and check out my other channels. I will try to leave them in the description of this video if I remember. But thank you very much for listening to this podcast, and I will leave that there today. I've given you a rough overview of everything that's happening, but I hope that you guys have enjoyed. My name has been Jordan. I hope that if there's any other creators or entrepreneurs, business owners, or people who are interested in starting their own, becoming free and starting their own way of life, listen to this podcast and become inspired, because I have managed to achieve the freedom that I wanted, which is to be able to do my own business full time now. For at least I've at least bought myself a year or two, a couple of years of freedom in order to be able to full-time focus on this. And I am planning to create this into a much bigger business, even during into this very hard and difficult times for businesses, these economic times, this recession coming up. But I am still hoping to try to grow my business nevertheless, and my target is to grow my wealth all the way up to 1 million. So I'm very grateful and very happy. And in cryptocurrency industry, you can do that, and you can do that in the financial industry, and you can also do that in the social media industry as well. And that is where I'll be focusing my skills for now. So that is another reason why I'm creating more content that I can, more content than ever, and as many of these podcasts here, these creator podcasts, as I can. So I hope that you all have an amazing, week. And I will try to leave a comment or leave some kinds of suggestions if you have anything, any feedback. But I will try to create and release more content just like this going forwards here on this channel, as well as potentially, some actual videos as well. Because this is currently just a non-video podcast, but I could also release videos as well on this, which is my personal channel, Jordan Monahan TV. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope some of this knowledge and information and all of the things we discussed here on this podcast gave you guys some knowledge, some insight, maybe a bit of motivation, and at least just helped you. And but yeah, have a great and wonderful day, and we will see you guys soon in the next podcast or the next video here on this channel.